What does Stellaris want you to do, and can you learn Stellaris? That's what this video is going to be about. Paradox games are a bit complicated. A lot of times they want you to go down a gameplay loop without actually telling you what that gameplay loop is. This leads to new players not really understanding how to actually play the game in the way the game wants it to be played. A lot of experienced players, due to the fact that they never actually learned how to play the game, are often making pretty simple mistakes that could be corrected. So this video will be good for new players, very, very new players. We're going to be going over the very basics of the first 30 years. And this video will also be good for experienced players because we're going to be going over the basics of the first 30 years. Now, I do run a lot of multiplayer games, and in those multiplayer games, I see a lot of experienced players who still screw up their planetary management and still screw up their empire management considerably within the first 30 years. So this is a PowerPoint presentation that somebody within my community made that just goes over generally planetary management and which technologies to get to set up a good, consistent early game so that you can actually start playing the game and learning how to play it. Now, for the purpose of this video, before I even get into it, there is one small thing that I do recommend everybody uses and I will be using in this video. That is the most subscribed mod, the UI overhaul dynamic. To access this mod, I will tell you exactly how to do this. This will make the game significantly easier, both for veteran players and for new players. Go into Stellaris, go into Workshop, go into most subscribed, go into here, and just subscribe to this mod. Then once you open the game, you will be under the playset, initial playset. You will go into your playsets, you will add a mod, UI dynamic overhaul. This is now in your initial playset and you will start the game. It is just that easy, and I promise you, this is a step that you can do. Anyone can do anything I'm going to do in this video, but this is just something that will help you immensely. It will make the UI of the planets bigger, more readable, and you will thank yourself, and your eyes will thank yourself immensely for it within the future. So let's start to talk about this one. Basic economic principles for noobs. Now, don't think of yourself as a noob in a derogatory way. You're a noob in a new player way, or maybe even if you're a veteran player, it's just good to get a refresher to go down the basics. So the first thing that he recommended, and is pretty simple for a lot of people, is to go Xenophile Egalitarian. While this is not the most powerful build in the game, this can get you a very, very powerful start because of a lot of concepts in the game. Fortunately for you players, as I do recommend for everybody new at the game, the United Nations of Earth, the most popular way to play the game, is a Xenophile Egalitarian. If you guys just want a refresher on the game, or if you're new at the game, just choose the United Nations of Earth. These are your typical Star Trek people. These are people that don't want war. They want to exist peacefully, and the majority of the player base just plays these people. So all you really need to do to start the game is just choose the United Nations of Earth. Now, why? For anybody watching this video, why is this a really good idea? Well, because when you choose Xenophile and Fanatic Egalitarian, when you start the game, your Autochthon monument will give you effects based on your ethics. Your ethics are already predetermined, so you don't need to do anything to change them. You are Xenophile and Egalitarian, so once you select this, you're totally okay. But once you build this monument, you will get trade, and you will get pop upkeep reduction from your civilians. As we've explained a lot of times, civilians in this game aren't really they're not really unemployed people anymore. These are more people working in the private sector. There is the public sector and the private sector. You want generally to get everybody working, I'm going to say, within the public sector, within the government, but people who are just civilians, they can do things too. So it's generally a good idea. Just start with the United Nations of Earth, and it will make your early game a lot better. It will just make your early game a lot more manageable. Now, of course, there is the species primary living standard, which is another concept that is very important. Before we get into anything in the game, we need to make sure that before we even unpause, that we are setting ourselves up to succeed. So within day one, it will be pretty common that we want to set our species rights at least to social welfare. This is because civilians will now produce unity. Unity, of course, is a research, not a research thing. It's it's a resource that allows you to get into traditions faster, much faster, and these will allow you to become much more powerful. This will make all your civilians, who you will have a lot of in the early game, now produce unity. Additionally, it will give everybody 10% more happiness, increasing the stability of planets, and it will give 10% job efficiency for civilians. What is job efficiency? It's not too complicated to go into, but just as a general rule of thumb, job efficiency, we can't even see it doing here right now because it hasn't adjusted. Job efficiency, if you have 10% job efficiency and 100 jobs, it will count as if you had 110 people, even though you only had 100. If you had 100% job efficiency, those 100 people would count as 200 people. Do you get it? It's a new system that actually simplifies a lot of things and makes it not complicated. So you can imagine if we get 10% more job efficiency for 1,900 civilians, that will amount to a lot of free, effective workers. And we will, before the game is even unpaused, we have set ourselves up for greatness. So there will, of course, be some consumer goods that are being used right now, but this can be really easily cleared up using trade. Now, if you have the UI mod, which I recommended you get, we can click right up here and just manage our trade. Early in the game, we will have a lot of trade, and it is generally a good idea to try to buy as much trade as you can. The numbers here, I'm not going to go into anything too complicated for you, but about 15 to 20 minerals is what any empire can afford. Some can afford more, some can afford less. Just look at your trade, look at how much you're making, and try to work with that. Of course, you can also look at your energy, and you can look at your food. You can sell excess energy, you can sell excess food, or within your planet itself, you can manage jobs. We're not going to get into that. We're staying at the very, very basics. So, basics then. What are resources? A lot of people don't actually understand this concept, so let me explain them to you. Well, Erebus explained it, but let me read how Erebus explained it to you guys then real quick. There are two types of resources in Stellaris. Research and alloys are limitless. The more the better. Your entire economy exists to make these go up. So, think of it as a pyramid. Upkeep resources are the bottom of the pyramid. Upkeep resources are everything else. You make as much as you need. Banking these resources without a good reason won't do you much good. So, technically, Unity is another resource that is unlimited, but it does have limited uses, so we're not going to talk about Unity. This build here will generally get as much Unity as it needs. You could get more, but it's not too it's out of, let's say, the vision of this video. Okay, so then why does this work the way it does? Research gets us technologies. Technologies are unlimited. We can continue to use resources, we can continue to use research as a resource indefinitely. The more research we have, the better. Alloys generally are also unlimited, although maybe not as unlimited as research. Generally, the more allies you have, the better. This allows you to wage war. It allows you to build peacetime institutions like habitats, orbital rings, megastructures. So alloys are quite good. Research is quite good. The bottom of the pyramid are these upkeep resources. You want as much as you can get of these to upkeep your empire, but these are not good to have hundreds of thousands of, at any rate. I've seen a lot of videos of people who are banking on 50,000 food early game. Yes, I've actually seen that, and I think to myself, well, why are you doing that? 50,000 food. This means you have your population is working on getting more food that you won't need. Now, we're staying not complicated here. A lot of people will say, well, in this specific build, you get, yes, I know. There's complicated builds that once you understand the base fundamentals of the game, that you could make having lots of food good, you could make having lots of minerals good, but we're not going to go into that. It's out of the scope. It's out of the vision of this video. These are resources you want as much of them as you can get to upkeep your empire. These are the resources you want the most of. So then let's go to planetary management. A lot of people don't really understand this one. This is something that I see people screw up constantly. Let me go load a game from multiplayer here. I have one. It's just going to take me 1 second to find it though, because I, of course, am a very, very organized man who organizes myself in an organized way. Okay, so let's go here. This is actually not right. Where is it then? Was it this one over here? Yes, this one over here. Okay, sorry. We had to take 1 second to do that. Let's go join a 2300 version of my empire. How do we want to make our planets? A lot of people make their starting planet well, because your starting planet will generally do everything. See, we have these designations over here. Empire capital just gives you stability, amenities, housing, resources. That's all you got, right? This is good. This is great. If you're seeing this extra 5% resources, don't worry about that. We're not going to talk about that for now. But as we start looking at our next worlds, you can probably notice something here. This world is very specialized into getting me alloys. This world is very specialized into getting me research. This world is very specialized into getting me minerals. Why do we play like that? Well, for many, many different reasons. The best way we can describe it to new players is that as we continue to get up the technology tree, which I'll get into in a second, as we continue to get up to the technology tree, you will continue to have all these special buildings you can put down that will enhance the job. So for example, this is the research institute. We get more physics, society, and engineering per those jobs. So if we have a world of entirely scientists, this will help us immensely. This one gives us more research per physicist. This one gives us more research per engineer. This one gives us more research per biologist. This one gives job efficiency to physicists, biologists, engineers. This one gives upkeep reduction to all researchers. Do you see where we're going here? If we have built all 6 of these buildings, remember building slots are finite. Do you see here? They're finite. You can't have every building in a world, right? If these building slots are finite, then we need to make sure that we're using the most out of them, putting down every buffing building. The 2 resources that have the most buildings to buff them, though technically 3, are of course alloys and research. The technically 3 one is of course consumer goods, who do have a lot of buildings that will buff them, but consumer goods are, let's say, limited in use. There's only so much you can do with them, right? So as the game progresses, you want to start to specialize your world into certain tasks that they perform. Of course, we will get into a little bit. The upkeep resources are the ones that you don't maybe want as specialized in, because of course you want the spender resources to be the highest possible. So if we look at the picture here, in this build, there was we did use workers cooperative. So can I zoom in here real quick? Okay, we did use workers cooperative, so that's why this one is actually a luxury housing. But as we can see right here, on a research world, if I'm doing a biological ascension, it will generally be good to have some sort of clone vats down, a medical center down, the genomic research facility down. I had 1 spare building slot, so I put a fortress to try to defend the world against orbital bombardments. Then we had the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 research buildings, an additional advanced research complex just to add more researcher jobs, and then we had a little bit of food here and a little bit of energy. See, worlds are limited. You only have so many worlds in your empire. Of course, you could have unlimited, technically, if you conquered the whole universe, but let's not be optimistic right now. So we need to make sure all our worlds are at maximum efficiency. The tech world, by default, will... Can I find maybe a new one? Yes, tech world, by default, before you get it upgraded, will reduce the upkeep of researchers on the world. The forge world, before you get upgraded, will reduce the metallurgist upkeep. So generally speaking, as we open the game with all this information now soaked into you, you're thinking, oh, that's what the game wants me to do. It wants me to do specialized worlds performing tasks. Okay, so how are we going to get those tasks then? Generally speaking, you're going to want to open with although in this empire I didn't use it, you're generally going to want to open a very, very, very good building to open with is, of course, the luxury residence. Cloning is also good. Medical centers, most people will probably go bio-ascension, so understand that. So medical centers are good, genomic researchers, and then whatever you want to do from there. So if we look at some example pictures here, because people do like pictures, right? Here we can see a research world with all 6 research buildings, the luxury residence, genomic, clone vat, medical. Here we can see a good example of a fortress world. I'll go into fortress worlds in 1 second, so let's put a pin in that one. Here's a good example of a mining world. Mining worlds are very specialized. Generally speaking, you do not want to get these specialized mining, energy, food worlds. You don't want to be wasting an entire world on that until much, much, much later in the game, where you might have 10, 20 planets. If you're under 5 worlds, you can't be spending an entire world on a spending or sorry, on an upkeep resource. You want them on a spending resource like alloys, like research, right? Now, the one exception is it can be profitable to have one world on consumer goods. As you can see here, we're making 1,400 consumer goods from this world, so no other world needs to concern themselves with the consumer goods anymore. As you can see, into the late game, you can start getting outrageous amounts of minerals from a mining world. But in the early game, you will generally want your worlds having just enough upkeep resources on those worlds themselves. Now, there's two reasons for that, of course. One, if I highlight my trade right here, planetary deficits do cost you trade. Not a lot, not an infinite amount of trade, but enough that you generally, if you slap down, for example, right here, we can see here, right here, if I just slap down one agricultural district, that's just one, then I can upgrade it. So you can see here, I could, well, I mean, you get the general idea here. We get the technology, we upgrade it. I'll get into that in a second. We put down one food processing center, hydroponic farm, hydroponic farm. So we can see here we have 700 farmers here producing way more than enough food for the entire planet. So then other planets maybe won't need to produce food, and this only costs us one district. All the other districts are going to put into cities to get the most researchers possible. If you want to understand planetary management, I have another video just going over the very basics of it so you get the idea, right? So then what are fortress worlds? Why would we want a fortress world? Well, as we start going into the well, maybe not the late game, but as we start leaving the mid game, you might notice that you want more naval capacity. See, in this game, I was running out of naval capacity because I had no fortress worlds. How do we fix this issue? Fortress worlds. Okay, what is a fortress world? This is going to be, as we start reaching the late mid game, or as we start approaching into the mid-game, depending on your build, you will want some worlds being fortress worlds. They could also be habitats. If you know what a habitat is, good. If you don't, just get through the basics of the game. But as you start leaving the early game at any rate, you might find that your naval capacity isn't enough, and now by going over your naval capacity so much, you're spending so much energy that you can't maintain it. Fortress world. What is a fortress world? This is a world entirely made of soldiers. Planetary defense, all fortresses, the military building that buffs fortresses, and then just generally genomic, medical, luxury residences, clone vets to make it set up. Generally, these are really good on habitats. Habitats are absolutely amazing for fortresses. Let me see if I actually have any examples of that. You know what? I'm trying to just think here if I have. Here is one that might have a good example of a fortress world. So fortress soldiers give you naval capacity. And of course, as you've probably heard, naval capacity can be pretty good. So in this build, I actually had more naval capacity than I did in the other build, despite being a much smaller empire. So you can see all these buildings here. This is a hive, so don't worry about the building icons too much. We have the military academy, which gives us job efficiency for soldiers, and then we have a lot of these fortresses. And of course, if we go down here and we look at 5,100 people being fortresses, and then combined with the work efficiency, we can see this world alone, all these people here are giving us 498 naval capacity. So we can understand the planetary specialization system now, right? So here would be a good example of a mineral world. If you're in the hyper late game and you just need one world getting thousands and thousands of minerals to manage, here we can see fortress world, here we can see research world, here we can see an ecumenopolis research world. Now this is going to be more of a late game thing, ecumenopolises. If you do have, this is for those of you who are reaching the late game and know what an ecumenopolis is. Let me explain. You can turn one world into a city world. It is entirely a city. This is your hyper late game. This is like, I mean, you can see the research output here is enormous. This is a perfect build for when you want your capital to be absolutely focused on research to fuel your entire empire. Now, once you do turn a world into an ecumenopolis world, if you don't know how to, you might have to go learn it. This is more for people that actually have played the game before. But once you do that, how do we do that? We put one district on all these specialized things. We turn it into a science district. We put research building here. You get the idea here, right? So despite this research world having outrageous deficits that will need to be filled by other worlds, you can also see that it is producing all the research that we will likely need for most of the game. Into the Hyper Lake game, we may need more, but generally you get the idea. And of course, here we can see an alloy world with the 3 different specialized alloy buildings. Here we can see a consumer goods world with all the 3 different specialized consumer good buildings. I hope I'm giving you guys pictures that will help you understand, that will help you get the idea here. This is what the game wants you to do. Okay, so how do we then get to this point? Let's now talk about the technologies that I have not been talking about. As we start a game, we will have different technologies that we can get. Because when we do start a game, nothing that I just told you guys can you actually do. Unfortunately, nothing of that can you actually do. You start the game, we can't build these specialized buildings, we can't build specialized mineral districts, we can't do a lot of what I was just saying. So it's totally fine for your home world to be mixed for a bit of time. It's totally fine for your second world to maybe even be mixed, but it's generally good to put it into science. So how do we get to these buildings? Okay, 1. This, and this. These are the 3 best technologies in the game because they start unlocking the specialized labs that allow you to get to the better research buildings. So guys, here we can open up the game Materials Workshop. This allows us to build the tier 1 materials workshop. It goes up to tier 3. We go here, xenobiological lab. We go here, field dynamics center. This run, we fortunately did manage to luck into getting all 3 of them, and we are off to a good start. Once these researchers are done, we want to put these down on our capital, onto our research world, and this will make us significantly stronger. The second technologies that are pretty good to get are the specialized ones for basic resources, because if you have less people working these jobs because they're much more efficient, those people can be working on other jobs. So these are very, very good for us. Do you want 2,000 people getting you food or 500 people getting you food because you're so efficient at producing food that you only need 1/4 of the jobs on the food? Okay, so field modulation, eco-simulation, geothermal fracking. By default, you're looking at them and maybe their bonuses aren't so insane. 20% more minerals from miners, 20% more food from farmers, blah, 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 blah. But these technologies will unlock the ability to get these technologies. By default, I think in the current patch, they will almost always automatically be your next options. So as long as you get eco-simulation, you will almost always get food processing as your next choice. As long as you get geothermal fracking, you will almost always get mineral purification. If that's changed in some future patch or anything like that, that's fine. But generally speaking, you must get these and you want them generally as early as you can get them because they will allow you to get down to these. In addition to that, something that a lot of people don't really pay attention to, but is very important to pay attention to, is, of course, let me scroll back right here. I'm going to go into a different build just randomly because I know I will have it. You can see that they also unlock these edicts. The energy one unlocks capacity subsidies, and mineral one unlocks mining subsidies, and the farming one unlocks farming subsidies. These are very, very, very powerful edicts that you can put onto your empire. I'm sorry. If you don't know what edicts are, you'll probably learn over time. Of course, access by going government into edicts. Now, what do these all do? From these early technologies that you can get. The capacity one gives you 50% technician output, but they cost more energy upkeep. The mining one is the same thing, more miner output, but they cost more energy upkeep. The farming one, more farmer output, but they cost more energy upkeep. The thing is, taken as a whole, because we're getting so much technician output, we will generally about equal the energy costs of all 3 of these, and then we will just produce outrageous amounts more food and outrageous amounts more minerals. So of course, as you can imagine, these technologies are really, really good for setting up your early game economy to just be the absolute best possible. The other technologies that you will generally want in the early game are planetary unification because it leads to colonial centralization. As I mentioned earlier, you cannot get these second districts on your second colonies until we get down here to colonial centralization, which will need planetary unification to unlock. If you can't find planetary unification, it's because you're overlooking planetary unification. It might be in your research by an automatic unlock. You might need to look down into your green research to find it, but I highly recommend you get planetary unification. That means that if you're looking at green research, you will want the xenobiological lab, eco-simulation, food processing, planetary unification, and colonial centralization. Green is also good for other things. Genome mapping, the pop growth speed, also leads into clone vats. So those are 7 technologies. If you have green research and you see these 7 technologies, these will generally be your best ones to aim for. And of course, you've got the blue technologies and the orange technologies. I'm just going to call them those colors so you guys understand it. Now, as we start to reach the mid-game, of course, you're probably noticing to yourself here real quick, do I have any of these? No, this build used a funny thing that was maybe not the greatest for, well, maybe not the greatest for showing examples of this. But as I did mention, of course, these research complexes have, sorry, the hive world is very loud. It will keep going off. As you see in these research complexes, we have them up to tier 3. They will now cost these rare resources. How do we get these rare resources then? How do we scale this early economy into not producing maybe 200 to 300 science per world, but 1,000 science per world, 1,500 billion science per world? That's of course with these ones. When we get this one, we unlock the building chemical plant, exotic gas refineries, and synthetic crystal plants. Your advanced research complexes here will need these rare resources to upkeep and actually manage to gigabuff your engineers. Now, how do we get these then? We need these rare resources. Where do we get them? Of course, we get them from either a forge world or a consumer goods world, and they produce a lot. Here you can see the chemical plant, the synthetic crystals plant, and the exotic gas refineries. Per metallurgist or artisan, we produce a lot of these. Now, you generally only want one world in the current patch. This might change in the future. You generally only want one world working these. They will generally provide enough for your entire empire of these rare resources. And do remember that they have not only a building slot requirement, but they also have a mineral upkeep requirement. So as I mentioned to you earlier in the video, we have to continue to scale our empire to higher and higher and higher amounts. Our specialized worlds need to be more and more specialized as time goes on. We need to be producing more and more and more as time goes on. Early in the game, a couple, maybe 100 minerals is good. Later in the game, maybe 200 is good. But as you can see right here, merely on the upkeep alone, I am consuming 5,400 minerals just to upkeep my empire, which, as you might imagine, is not some small amount. This is a very large amount of minerals. So we will need to be producing a lot of minerals because everything will be eating minerals. My entire empire will be consuming food, much less than you'd think actually, but 1,000 food, so we need a lot of that. And of course, as we start getting into the late game, we will have a lot of energy requirements. 2,400 is being consumed right now. It will continue to balloon, and as you go over your fleet capacity, that number will only get more and more and more. So, you want lots of worlds that are producing lots of resources. I'm a hive, so I have hive worlds in this build. I'm not going to get into them, but hive worlds are quite good at producing lots of jobs. You can see here I'm trying to get as many resources out of all my planets as I can so that I don't have to specialize any planets into minerals, because I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only have 7 planets here, and I don't want to be spending an entire planet on research. I don't want to be not on research, on minerals, energy, or food, because these are I just want these resources to upkeep my actual good resources, which is alloys and research. So that's how we're going to get out of the early game, and that's how we're going to start reaching the mid game more consistently, and that's how we're going to start actually scaling into the late game so that we can start doing very, very strong. Now, let's start talking about the archaeology project. Let's start talking about actually getting into the late game. How are we going to do that? How are we going to take this mid game faction and take us into the hyper late game? Of course, we're going to do that with these. Now, what are these? I kept mentioning archaeology project. Now, I'm gonna have to go find this save again so I can try to show you this. Sorry, I might play this game a little bit. I might play this game once or twice in a day, so you'll have to bear with me for a second to find it. Let's go to an earlier save once again. So I did mention archaeology project. How are we gonna get this archaeology project? I turned my entire planet into a science world. It turned it into an entire city world. How do you do that? How do you, well, it's really obvious. Number one, you're gonna have to take, when we get these things, we have to take an ascension perk for archaeology project. But a lot of you guys have never seen archaeology project, have you? You've never unlocked it, or at the very least you unlocked it so late game that you didn't really need it anymore, or maybe you didn't want it. I guess, I mean, you always do need it, but what's going on here? Well, that's pretty obvious. One, to unlock the ability to take archaeology project, you're gonna have to get certain researches. Now this is gonna be a lot of information, right? So some of you guys might need to pause the video and come back in like a week and, you know, play through the game a little bit before you get to this part. But, you know, we're making the whole video all at once. So let's go over it. We got the urban district housing. This is a very good research, but what does it do for us? Of course, it unlocks anti-gravity engineering, which then unlocks the ability to take the Ecology Project Ascension Park. Down here, we can see orbital rings. What are orbital rings? Do I have them set up properly in this game? Yes, I do. Orbital rings are these special megastructures you can put around. Anyone who plays Warhammer 40k knows this one. You can put these around your world, which will massively boost the world. These habitation modules give you max districts on the world, allowing you to employ far more people. And this one allows me to produce more alloys per metallurgist at the cost of more minerals. So as you might imagine, the reason this build needed such outrageous minerals was that I was using a lot of them, right? So these, in combination with their ecology project, are how we take our early game empire and we go into the mid game, and now we're really pushing into the late game min-maxed hyper done stuff. So we know how to get the Arcology project, and of course Arcology project will be a decision if you don't know. And it will tell you what you need to do for this decision, so I'm not going to go into it too much, just pay attention to that one. Generally, having one Arcology research world and one Arcology alloy is all you need before the game starts wrapping up, but you will need at least that research capital. It's quite good. Now, orbital rings. To get an orbital ring, you will have to get the Starhold technology, which unlocks the orbital ring technology, but you will also need the anti-gravity engineering technology, because that gives you the habitation module, which, as I showed, is the quite good one to put on your orbital ring. You can, of course, turn it into a planetary defense battery, or these ones. These ones are, I don't like any of these ones. You go habitation, it's blatantly the best in my opinion. Of course, you can get technology for other things, such as I used the orbital stock exchange over here, which was just a way to get some more trade jobs. It's okay, it's not that important. But a lot of technologies will unlock a lot of things. So let's go back and let's go over everything. We start the game, okay? We understand the basic resources, okay? We want to start specializing our worlds. Once we're done specializing our worlds, we want to start producing way more of these basic resources. We want to spend way more of these basic resources. We're going to need colonial centralization. We're going to need cloning to create more people. Then we're going to want to upgrade our research labs. To do that, we're going to need these labs, these factories over here. These will take a lot of minerals, so hopefully you've got the mineral technologies so you can actually support these. Once we're done with all that, we're going to want to move on to arcology projects to get city worlds. If you're a robot, you'll do robot worlds. If you're a hive, you'll do hive worlds. All of them are good in their own way. There are slight differences. We're not going to get into it. You're going to want to start to get orbital rings. And once we are done with all that, this is actually more for the mid game. Okay. If you are in the mid game, these are the early, I'm going to call these, this is if you have old DLC, by the way. I'm making this video on the assumption you all have old DLC. If you don't have old DLC, a lot of what I'm saying won't apply to you, but, you know. We have, of course, Erebus calls this addendum over here. Arc furnaces and Dyson swarms. Okay, these are, I'm going to call these mid-game mega engineering projects. Do I have any in this build, or did I not do any? I do not think for this build I did any. Oh, that's bad. Oh, actually I do have one here. Here's a Dyson swarm. It's not fully upgraded though. So what are these? Arc furnaces, although this isn't really within the confines of this video. Arc furnaces are a potential megastructure that you can build here, which you can see. Once you do have, let me get a construction check. Once you do have the arc furnace researched, you can then highlight any world on your map, and it will tell you habitat potential maximum districts. Oh, that's for habitats. Oh shoot, I don't have arc furnaces in this build, but at the very least, oh boy, that's awkward. You know I have them in this build, so let me load up real quick here. I wonder if this is when I was being invaded. Yes, doesn't matter. We can see here arc furnace potential, arc furnace deposit sites. Okay, we can highlight all these different worlds and see the different arc furnace potentials. And this will generally tell us, once we have arc furnaces researched, what to do with them. What do arc furnaces do? Although this one is a bit blown to pieces right now. They will, depending on how many potentials they had, and then once you have it fully upgraded, give you alloys and minerals from space. And as you can see here, if I didn't have it blown up by my enemies, it would give me a lot of minerals and alloys from space. These numbers might not scale into the hyper late game so well, but in the mid game, these numbers are quite good. In the previous video, you did see I was getting 50 energy from a sun. That can go up and up as well. That can be over 100. That can be much more from 100. Now, of course, what the arc furnace does, you can see here on the tooltip right here. I'll post this video, or I'll post this guide down below. It's quite a good guide. But as we can see right here, once we highlight our systems, 19 is good. They do put them in red, yellow, green. Obviously, if the number is green, it's quite good. If the number is yellow, it's If the number is red, you would be literally destroying yourself to put it there, and I have no idea why you would do that. Okay, so we understand arc furnaces. This is good for taking our mid-game alloys and making them work for us even harder. Think of it as interest. We don't want to just sit on alloys. We either want to build a fleet and conquer people, but if we're peaceful, then we want to be building stuff to make ourselves even stronger. That's arc furnaces. The second way is Dyson swarms. Now, Dyson swarms are a way to make suns give us even more. As we can see here, it's not too complicated. It gives us sun output. So as we look around, it does depend, of course, on what you do on it, but here we can see 3 energy from the sun. I could go here, build megastructure, Dyson swarm array. You can build megastructures any way like that as well, by the way. So build megastructure, you have to click on a molten world. That's how arc furnaces work. We can build megastructure, arc furnace, or you could click on the sun, build megastructure, Dyson swarm. What Dyson swarms do, as we see here, these are just ways to scale your late game economy into the, I should say mid-game economy to the hyper late game. But you can see here, it increases the star output, 500, 1500, then 3000%, which is a lot. So if I did see a potentially very good star, I don't think I had any in my empire, but we could put it potentially anywhere. So, so here we see we have a star with 5 energy on it, which is much better than 3, nearly double. Doesn't seem like a lot, but once you're multiplying it by 3000, this will, 3,300. Oof, it's a lot. Yeah, sorry, 3,000. Yeah, no, my bad. Once we multiply this by 3,000, this will start being a bit more energy. Now, of course, these numbers could change at any time, so don't at me if they do change. But so long as you do not have large roving bands of space invaders attacking you from the British Empire, then yeah, you can build this stuff, and this is quite good. So that's about it. I hope this video started a bit less complicated, then moved into being more complicated as time goes on, but this is going to be your loop through the game. I hope this explains it all for you guys so you can actually understand, because you guys aren't dumb. I don't think anyone's dumb. You guys can understand the game if you actually know what the game is expecting of you, and this is what the game is expecting of you. This is what it wants you to be doing. Once you know what it wants you to be doing, it's going to be way easier for you to play through the game. I would recommend, if you can get to year 50 in a good build, then I would just start over and try again, and then I would do that again, and I would do that until you can get yourself to a very comfortable position where you don't feel like you screwed everything up and everything made sense. And of course, this is why the resources are the way they are. Alloys allow you to build these megastructures, and as we start reaching the late game, these megastructures will get quite more powerful. These are just the mid-game ones. The orbital ring, the arc furnace, and the Dyson swarm, those are just the mid-game megastructures. They start getting real big in the late game, right? So alloys are good for building you up. Science is good. Why is science so good for building you up? Because it gives you all these technologies which you obviously need to continue to build up your empire. Don't sit there plus 1,000 minerals thinking you're good. Plus 1,000 minerals means you're not doing good. In fact, anyone familiar to RTS games knows how this works. Do you want to be sitting on a large bank of resources? No, you can die with 10,000 food. That's great. I mean, type it in chat. Hey man, I had 10,000 food as you killed me. Like, congratulations, I guess, you know. So I hope you guys like, I hope you guys subscribe, I hope you guys leave a comment down below on any thoughts you have, anything you would rather have explained. I hope I did a pretty decent job going through all this for you guys. I know a lot of you guys are visual learners, so I will post this guide. It's made by a dude in my community, Erebus. If any of you guys have any further questions, of course you can join my Discord, and you can ask questions in my Discord. That's always quite good. A lot of people do like asking questions. Of course, we can always answer questions on my Discord. It's always doable there. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Again, make sure to like, subscribe. It helps me a lot. I need to make sure I say that. I do have ADHD, so sometimes I forget if I said it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, everybody. And as always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.